Hi, Catherine. People are joining. Baby, did you get them? Okay. Invite. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you. I'm going to turn. Lena, Mandy, Catherine. I'm going to Q&A. Can you hear me now? This is great. We're just the technology. Let me just... Can you hear me now, guys? Oh, good. Oh, thank you. That's great because there's a little delay here. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic, isn't it? Because this is what happens with the technology as it is. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited and quite a bit nervous too because first webinar and we have it recording. So thank you for joining us. I can see Mandy and we'll just get a few more minutes for people to keep coming on. I've come on a little bit early and really thank you for being here. So amazing to be talking a little bit about Zoom, but mainly about resource therapy, parts therapy, how you might be able to apply that with your other modalities, say with EMDR or IFS. But the main focus here will be on resource therapy. Yeah, so lovely to see you. So you can chat with me with the chat down here. Can you see this chat? And click on it and then you can type something in. Perhaps you can type in too where you're from. It'd be great to hear your voices. So click on that chat box down there. Tell me where you're from, what part of the country, what part of the world even. There's so many. So yeah, and I'm just going to see because I was hoping Chris would be my panelist, but I'm not sure what he's doing. So yeah. Hi, Belgrade, Serbia. Am I saying it, Helena? Yes. Am I getting that correct, Helena? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Because it's a webinar, the chat's going to be like in the chat section rather than then you'll be able to hear it, but everyone can see what Helena's written. Oh, hi, Wendy from Shepparton. Hi, Wendy. No, Wendy. Wonderful. Wow. And if you wouldn't mind just letting us know if you're a resource therapist, what training you've done. I'd love to hear you. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Alistair. Hi, Mandy. Yeah. Shane, beautiful to see you. Yes. And I'm just, the chat is there. So I just want to give it a few more minutes to really kick off and get people around. Obviously, we are recording, so just be mindful of that in terms of client confidentiality, but we'll be talking about cases and your questions, queries, and there's a great bank of knowledge here on the call. So feel free to chat and let me know your thoughts. Beautiful. Helena, you're a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist and EMDR. Beautiful. That's wonderful. It's great to have our EMDR clinicians along. Resource therapy as a parts therapy is super powerful and just about an essential, I think, if you're using EMDR or inner trauma processing therapy. Fantastic. So hopefully you can pick up some tips and apply them into your work. be great. And yes, Catherine, we have to type on, there is a Q&A as well if you've got questions down on the screen. I'm just using the chat function at the moment, but you're welcome to just type in a question. This is the difference a little bit between a webinar and a Zoom meeting. I think next time, and when I'm going to do training, I'm probably going to do a Zoom meeting. I'm still trying to figure all this out. I think all of us sort of are. Yeah. So yes. And how do you see other people's chats? All panelists, can you see that now? Can you see all the chat? Hi, Veronique. Hi. Yeah, lovely to hear you. So let's have a look and see you. Okay. And I can't see anyone else's chat. Oh, this is great, isn't it? Let me see. Let's have a look. Chat should be, I'll just go into the preferences here. View, start recording, share, view, show chat. Sorry. How about that? Can you hear that now? Yeah. So hopefully, yeah. Let me just share everything. Jump to chat. I'm still figuring all this out, so please be really, I really appreciate. Hi, Alice, lovely to see you. Hi, Alistair. Hi, Elizabeth. Yeah. Can you see that? Beautiful. Is everyone getting the text now? And having, okay, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Can everyone see everyone on their message things? I just want to talk. We've got nearly 20 people on. We're waiting for more people. There's people signed on actually in America. So hi to our friends in America. We will be recording this. So love to have you. You can't, okay. You can't see others on the chat. Okay. This is great. No. Show meetings control, yeah. I wonder if that's because I'm in a private chat room. Anyone who can offer any help, open to that, please. Someone, yeah. Shane, would you know how to turn that on, all the chat function? I've got Q&A, and because I was on one recently, it was really easy to see. Q&A works, but not the chat. Oh, okay, so there you go. Go on the Q&A. There you go. Thanks, Shane. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So yeah, cancel. Yeah. So type in the Q&A down there. That was because I was on a call yesterday. All panelists and attendees. Hello, all hands. Beautiful. Thank you, Veronique. Open. Ah, here we go. Yeah, thank you, Veronique. Saying no pressure, we understand. Nope, no text from others. Yes, should all go to F&A. I cannot see 20 texts. I'm from California. Hi, Marlene. I can only see Veronique chats. Hi there, Alice. Okay, just check your own settings. Just check your own settings, because on the Q&A, if you just check that, because there's a private one and you can answer people privately. You can't see, yeah. And typing in oh, you're typing in something to me. You would like to answer this question live, yeah. So great, this is wonderful. We've got an opportunity to figure things out together, and this is exactly what it's sort of like with clients on a first session, really. So you want to get the technology set up, and I'm still figuring this out. And 20 people coming up. So hi, Alistair, beautiful. Shane, and I'm going, attendees, beautiful. open. This is, yeah. Q&A seems to be working. Thanks, Alistair, for that. I really appreciate it. And let's have a look if we can allow, I can probably go in meeting. Hang on, unmute all. So can everyone hear me now? You might be able to hear. I've unmuted everyone. So if you've got speakers, perhaps you can speak. Can someone speak? Hi, this is great. Q&A seems to be working. Thanks, Mandy. You're a clinical hypnotherapist and strategic psychotherapist in Harvey Bay. Beautiful. It's very strange to be the silences. I know. Is the amazing Chris? He's supposed to be. That's why he's in the next room. And this is my first ever webinar, actually. And I wonder, I probably should have made a Zoom meeting. I don't know if we can show manage participants. Yeah. If we could, if it was better to do a Zoom meeting or a webinar. So future reference, probably a Zoom meeting. And I will offer this again as well. I can hear a lot of, I can see a lot of people actually do know a little bit about our resource therapy. Yeah, that's great. Maybe we could sign in. Yeah. Okay. I can't see you either, actually. That's the other thing, because usually people, let me just hang on. Let's move that. I've got myself, exit full screen. This is the difference, I think, between a webinar and a Zoom meeting. Yep, someone type something. Yep. Okay. So I thought I'd be able to have, hang on, let me just go into my settings. All questions, all attendees. Yep, beautiful. Let me just go into my settings and move that away. Chat screen. Video. So I'm just in my preferences screen. That's why I'm going to talk to you. Enter full screen and start sharing, showing. Okay. Audio. Everyone can hear me at least, can't they? And video profile. View. Accessibility. Voice show. Yeah. So that's that. Schedule a meeting. You should. I don't know why the video is not happening. That's really interesting. And perhaps that's because it's just a webinar, but I was on a on a webinar before. And yeah, I'm really sorry. Show Zoom windows during show. Yeah, video. I'm going to just jump out. That's all right. Hi, Renee, I can hear you. I can see you. I can see you. Sound is really good. Webinars for one way. Zoom is, okay. My bad. It's going to be a webinar, guys, so you'll have to get me, but with the chat and the Q&A functions. So that was an experiment. Well, there you go. And in the interest of online therapy, there's going to be a lot of experimenting. So my apologies, but I will try and keep it as interesting as possible. Thank you, Karen, for letting me know you can see and hear me, and the sound's really good. So use the Q&A, and I'm sorry that we can't see people because I was on a call where that was up, but again, I guess like as Shane's saying, this is a webinar. Well, that's a good point. We will then be able to next time use a Zoom meeting because I've got that function. How's everyone going today? And what, thank you for everyone joining us here. Gosh, there's over 25 people here. That's beautiful. We've had about 80 people sign up, so that's amazing. And I wanted to use this as a forum really for you to be able to ask her any questions. I want to give a bit of an overview, a crash course on RT, because there's different levels of experience and knowledges here. Of course, let's be respectful and be kind and compassionate to all our other folk on this call here today. And just as we will with our clients, really. So I've been working, I spent a lot of time putting this together. So keep, okay, oh wow, 30, beautiful. Q&A. Okay, sign as an Auslan. Thank you, Alistair. I don't know Auslan. Something, yes, can see you fine or good. Probably easier for me to manage. Maybe, but for training purpose. And this is a general sort of overview. Thank you, Kelly Hadinger. Beautiful. We can type, all good. Great. Deals with the bandwidth issue. Oh, okay. Alistair is telling me that it deals with the bandwidth issue. Of course, we all need to get our Wi-Fi's up and running in a new way that you possibly needed to. I had to. I've got the NBN. Very lucky. Oh, and by the way, everyone, there's apologies from Anna Emerson. She had hoped to join the call. Probably as a panelist would have been good. I think there's a way you could do that. But she can't due to her lousy internet connection, but she's sending you love and all the good thoughts and is wishing you all the best in your resource therapy, because this is a whole new era for resource therapy for us all, our clinicians. So beautiful. Catherine saying Zoom is smooth, but very grateful for your experiment. Thank you, Catherine. I really appreciate that. Just to get some feedback. Mandy saying good, thanks. Is there no idea how much time this webinar? I've allowed up to 90 minutes. So you can feel free to come in and join it. It will be recorded. Yeah, so I'll start off with a little bit about myself. So I'm Philippa Thornton, founder and director of Resource Therapy Institute Australia and Marriage Witch, which, as Alice mentioned, I run with Chris, Paul, and my husband, and we do that here, based in Sydney, Randwick. It's so the Resource Therapy Institute Australia, we teaching and mentoring and supervising other resource therapies. I'm a clinical resource therapist. I'm also a psychologist by trade too, and a psychotherapist. We run Marriage Works, which is also a couple therapy tip things. So I'll show you some things for setting up Zoom a little bit later on, and somewhere you can download some sheets to give your clients for setting up if you're that way inclined. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for saying hi, and please introduce you. And Matthias, I hope I'm saying that correctly. It should be about 60 to 90 minutes. I'm going to give a crash course in RT, some videos of, hi Donna, thank you. Or nice to say it's all good. Yeah, so just say hi, where you're from, what's your profession, your background, whether you're RT trained or what's you're interested. I know there'll be some people who are other type of parts therapists. I think there's some applicability and crossover with that. So yeah, so feel free to ask me any questions, and I'd love to hear from your expertise. If you go, oh yeah, that's like this and my parts therapy that I use. Like I was saying, yeah, I first learned EMDR. By the way, I am not a consultant. I am just an EMDR practitioner, and everything here today is just a suggestion and a hope. And I want to hear your suggestions too. Well, I want to see your suggestions. If you can write them in the chat box in the Q&A, that would be amazing. And I think maybe we can see it there, but the Q&A is really good. There's 332. Oh, good. Alistair's a clinical psychologist, and he's a clinical resource therapy and resource therapy trainer. Fantastic. Where are you based? Is it Brisbane, Alistair? Is that right, Alistair? Yeah. If you can type that. And Brisbane. Beautiful. Thank you. Donna's from Sydney. Catherine, I think you're from Bondi too. Because with coronavirus in these times, we are now having to access online therapy in new ways that we may not have had to do before. I've used it for several years, and I've used it with resource therapy to great success. So short answer, yes, it can be used very easily. And I'm going to show you a little bit more on how to do that. I'd love to hear your questions if you type them in. So as I was saying, I trained in EMDR in 2013, and I was just looking, actually, I dug out one of my books that I got when I did Gordon's training. Here it is. This is one of Gordon's books. Yeah, Happy Parts, Healthy Self. That's a self-help book. And I looked in it, and the training I first did was an ego state therapy. So I know some people are coming from the Europe who may be ego state therapists. This is be applicable as well. And then it was in 2013, in September 2013. I can't believe it's been that long, and so much has happened. And Resource Therapy has, Resource Therapy International, as you know, Gordon Emerson is the founder and president of Resource Therapy International. He's this guy here. He offers so much, and has recently done a training last year in Europe. I'm a trainer. There's trainers all around the world now, which is amazing. In Europe, the other place we need to get to is the United States, but there's trainers in Indonesia. We're sadly not able to offer our clinical training and in Bali this year due to coronavirus, but well, here we are all online, showing up for our clients. So this is amazing, and it shows me too. Thanks, Renee, you raised a hand. That's really cool. Yeah. Oh, Matthias, thank you. You're a systemic consultant sitting in Heidelberg, Germany. Well, welcome, welcome. Great to have you there. And Michelle is in Sydney CBD, clinical hypnotherapist, NLP and RT, trained with Tracy from Newcastle. Yes, hi. Thanks, Michelle. And Alice, you and Nathan, clinical resource therapist from Canberra at Develop Daily Private Practice. And hi, Karen. Yeah, you're an art therapist. I'm trained in EMDR in Melbourne. Oh, Melbourne's the heart of resource therapy too. Beautiful. Fantastic. Keep your answers. And there's nearly 30 of us here. Fantastic. So I'll keep sort of rolling along. I want to wait a little bit to what sort of platforms are people using at the moment? I'm not going to go into Zoom too much because there's so much on YouTube. I'll give a few pointers that I've found useful. You can have the Zoom virtual background. That's really fun. But at the moment, my lighting's not good enough to have that in this room, and it'll kind of show up. It's really kind of fun. Renee, hi, Wendy. She's Wendy Brewer from Shepparton. She's a counselor in clinical resource therapy and victim, and she's been using Zoom lately with clients. Fantastic. Oh, Mandy, Doxy Me, and how's that been going? Great. Oh, Birgit, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Birgit. Beautiful to welcome you from Arte, Austria. Wonderful. And Alistair, you're using the PC app also on your phone. Don't usually use Zoom. Yeah, so whatever you're using, obviously you need to be able to, I'm not going to, a friend of mine rang and said, what's HIPAA? HIPAA is actually an American standard of confidentiality. It's the health insurance policy, something or other. And it's an American standard. We don't need that in Australia. We need good privacy standards, and what the Australian Psychological Society, who is what I would sort of think is my governing body, or the Psychology Board of Australia, is fit for purpose technology. So that is going to be the paid expression of Zoom rather than the unpaid free version. However, it depends on what your costs and who you're seeing. I'll leave that up to you. There's a lot of great apps out there. It's great to see others. Hi, Marcel. Thanks. Thank you. You're looking forward to the session. So am I. Hi, Renee. Do you have a question? Oh, yeah. And let's have a look. I've got two screens here. I have them side by side. So, hi, Michelle. You're accredited mental health social worker. I love social workers. And you're an EMDR therapist, mostly working with victim services clients with complex trauma. Okay. And you use a lot of compassion focused therapy and ACT trained. And you did, oh, fantastic. You did resource therapy with Tracy. Excellent. I'm actually a victim services counselor as well. And I see a lot of complex trauma folk. This works really well. In fact, I'll discuss a couple of cases that I've recently had. So a lot of people here do have an idea of resource therapy. Just quickly going back to it's good to set up your room. I'm in my office here. You can see that. I'll give you a little tour. It's a bit dark here. It's, but it's kind of nice ambient lighting. You can see I've actually got good lighting in my face. My head is looking straight. I think that's very important, that your client can see you looking straight on and not high and above. That really, because obviously that can be pretty triggering for someone, and it's nice just to meet about eye to eye level. So if you set your camera up pretty much at eye level, and I've got this desk where my computer is on, and my seat, it always seems, it's a terrible writing desk, but it's a perfect height for doing these calls, these do's. Yeah, so keep writing to me, guys. Thank you. Wendy's got a question. Beautiful. Wendy, your question is about a client seeing the next couple of weeks. She has a persistent feeling of not good enough. Not good enough. Okay. And Wendy, I want to come back. Yeah, so I can answer that live, this question live. Can you hear that, Wendy? And I'm answering it live. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly meant. Yeah, okay, Zoom is free. Catherine's saying Zoom is free for 1 hour consultation with 1 hour participant. And to be honest, I think in these times, if that's all you can afford, because it's really tricky financially, get Zoom free for the 1 hour. It's great for supervision. Actually, I've been using Zoom for supervision, where 3 of us meet for a couple of hours, and we'll be offering that. So Wendy, okay, so coming back to Wendy's question, and I'll talk some more about cases too. Wendy, is it okay? I'll come back to your question. I don't want to say it's done, but it's brilliant to hear anyway. You're saying your Zoom counseling sessions have been going very well so far, and we've had good rapport. Honestly, that's what you need to do any sort of work with any client, whether that's in person or online, is good rapport. I think that's your first session really to set up, is to connect with your person. Like I was saying earlier, I'm also a victim services counselor. So first session is I have to do an intake. With online, I tend to do more of an intake, just get a feel for where your client is, and obviously they need to be in a safe environment for them, that's quiet, that's got a good enough lighting. Although having said that, I've seen clients in cars. I have on MarriageWorks a blog called and a thing called the last resort technique, and that's for people whose spouses walked out the door, and these people are wanting some help and coaching to stay in their marriage and help turn things around from their perspective. So I often see people all over Australia. I've seen people in Japan, I've seen people in New Zealand, I've seen people in America as well, probably I'm not sure, in the UK. But yeah, I love it now that resource therapy is available online. So your question is it safe and effective to bridge resource therapy action 3 via Zoom? Absolutely. You know, I'll say yes, but yes, but of course it depends on your skills and experience. So bridging is what we do to access parts from the past that are holding stuck emotions. And we need to do that in resource therapy to deal with what Wendy is saying is the feeling of not good enough. In resource therapy terminology, we call those feelings of not feeling good enough evaded state. And evaded states are from our past. And that is a state with a not good enough, is a state baited in rejection. I'll go over that a bit more. So short answer is yes, it's safe. Given that your client is feeling within your clinical judgment, because I'm wanting you to trust your experience and knowledge, that you have set up a good safe space, a great rapport working relationship. It sounds like you have. And what are the things to be aware of and go wrong? Well, you'll need to have a backup line of communication. Technology is wonderful as it is. Well, you can see here, I've got a webinar. I probably should have had a Zoom meeting. Can go wrong. So we need to get your client's mobile phone number and a landline if possible. Now, depending on your client, and I've written about this, I'll show you a page on the webpage a little bit later, where you can go and actually download some instructions and get some written instructions if you're like me, like to be able to read them. So you can also enlist a co-therapist, a support person who might be a backup person. It depends. I would not be doing a lot of work. Well, there's some contraindications, obviously. If someone's in a thought disordered or having a psychotic episode, that's contraindicated. They probably need more like some intervention, some prompt intervention, the crisis team. What could go wrong is more like the technology. In my experience, it's been very interesting. In fact, it's been a lot easier because online therapy is a little bit like a home visit. It's a wonderful thing. We're actually invited into our clients' homes. So that's really neat. Actually, I was saying this to one of my clients, we'll call him John. And there he was, he slept through his alarm, but he was able to have a coffee and a cigarette. I said, well, this is unusual, right? This would not be happening in my office. And we've got a really good relationship. He's a complex PTSD person. He has probably a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. Not that we use that in resource therapy. We're more interested in treating the person as a person and diagnosing the problem rather than diagnosing the person as you would have in the case of DSM-5. Obviously, there is a time and a place. Thank you, Wendy. And you've had some issues, Michelle saying, with some analytical clients who just cannot vivify. They can't be in the moment. Yeah, we call those in resource therapy terms the intellectual protector states. There's a couple of ways to do that. Michelle, would you mind, if possible, just typing a little bit more what's happened with that? So give me a bit more context, what you've tried. It'd be great for others to see that. And I'm just going to go back. Wendy, how was that? Was that some things? I will show some more things later. I might just, we've got nearly 30 people in the thing. Hi, Renee. I'm Renee. How you doing? Yeah. Hi, Renee. Can you hear me, Renee? Just type in something in either in the Q&A or the chat, Renee, just to let us know. Yeah, and any more on that, Wendy. So I'm going to do a share screen thing just to give you a crash course in RT. Some of it will be familiar for other people. It might be very new. So bear with me if that's the case, if you're really like, oh, so just hang on there. So I'm going to share the screen and I am going to, oh, yeah, have a look there. So the good thing is when you share the screen, people can't see what I'm looking at. I get a list of things until I'm ready to share the screen. And I'm going to share this. This is a PowerPoint presentation I prepared earlier, and I'm going to put it in view. And so you can see, oh, I could have shared my screen and seen everyone typing. Hey, maybe that's the way around it. There's a workaround. That could be the way to go. So I'm just going to put it into slideshow view. Whee! And I'll just, there we go. Just move that floating bar there. Just move that out of the way, and I'll just close that Q&A. So let's have a look. So that's me, Resource Therapy Institute Australia. I put Know Your ACEs. So you're sharing. So just checking. So the ACEs are the adverse childhood experiences. I first heard about it when I heard Carol Forgash in Milan giving her plenary speech. Carol Forgash is an amazing EMDR and PARTS therapist. And she said, you know, the PARTS work is so powerful. Adverse childhood events are things that are studied. I want you to know the ACEs. So I'm going to give you some information on that. Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris has given a great talk on that. And of course, the ACEs are interested in what's happened to a person. Resource therapy is a very trauma-informed therapy. That's why it's important to know your ACEs. We ask what's happened to the person, not as what is wrong with the person. Yeah. So, and resource therapy is, we're like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. I like to think of this little picture we're looking at, a bit of like a map of Australia. We have parts internally, personality parts that make up who we are, just like we have New South Wales, Queensland, Tasmania, and Northern Territory, let's not forget that, in Queensland. All those parts make up the whole of Australia, the whole of Philippa. Right now I'm on my resource therapist presenter part talking to you. Hopefully you guys have a curious presenter part listening and sharing. You obviously have, you've turned up. Thank you very much. And I like to use the ship metaphor. The ship metaphor is a way to describe a useful way to reflect back on our resources. Now, resources are a term we use interchangeably. Resources, parts, and states, all interchangeably, all mean the same thing. We're all talking about parts, resources, states, all the same thing. So I'll use resources, I'll use states, I'll use parts. A lot of people mainly use parts nowadays. So we call this a ship metaphor, and this is picture, you can view the ship like a person. And this person has a number of different emotions and behaviors on board their ship, and some of these emotions are unhealthy and some are healthy. That's fine. And in resource therapy terms, this is called pathological, or the unhealthy behaviors. So states that are holding unprocessed emotions like overwhelm, fear, anxiety, those sort of heavy emotions are termed pathological, and or are doing unwanted behaviors. There's two things there: unwanted emotions and unwanted behaviors. So some of these parts in the boat are healthy and are deemed to be in the normal condition. So I'm just going to go to that. And in the normal condition. So that's some of the conditions there can be. And they are perfect parts that we can have up there on deck, being able to drive the ship and at the right time. And they are suited, they are the right part out at the right time and the right amount for the right occasion. Right now, like I'm in my presenter part, that's the right part to have out. An anxious part would not be useful here for me. Okay, and they're at the helm, and you'll hear regularly they come out and be at the wheel. For an anxious part, it's okay to be an anxious part on passenger, but you don't want that be driving the ship. Okay, and there's a time and place for anxiety. I know most of us are feeling quite a lot of anxiety because there is in society with our coronavirus. And but it's not helpful if I'm having a panic attack on the bus to work. That is when the anxious part is overwhelming. That is what we call an anxious part, when the emotion doesn't fit the circumstances, i.e. I'm traveling to work on the bus. We call that state a evaded state, because that's an emotional response that doesn't fit the situation. Okay, and I'll go into that a little bit more, and things will start becoming clear as we move forward. And what we really want to have, the goal of resource therapy, is to move our pathological or unhealthy parts, our states, to a normal condition. So our states can be conscious on the surface or underlying, subconscious. Those are usually where those parts come out with the same level of affect that when they became vaded, often in childhood. And the central core concepts of RT are resource therapy states. They're resource states. They are physical neural pathways in our brains connected through axon and dendritic synaptic connections. They're usually formed in childhood. Just like ego state, we have introjects, that internalized impressions of a people, a place, a thing, or an animal. It can be anything. And we're in the conscious state, like I'm in my conscious state. That's the state that's on deck, on the ship, at the helm, experiencing, deciding. And then there can be just in the deck, just behind the deck, if you like, a surface state, observing and advising. Now on our ship, there can also be underlying states. They are dissociated from the conscious. They don't necessarily need to be unhealthy. They just are parts that we haven't accessed very regularly. So I know I have a bike riding part from childhood, but I haven't accessed riding a bike for a long time, but I could, it's just not necessary. So what we're often doing, and with Wendy's question of the bridging, are you bridging to access the underlying states? to get to the initial sensitizing event. I just want to flip out a little bit from resource therapy to talk about other parts models. So resource therapy has a theory of personality. We all believe that the parts are there to help us, but sometimes the way that they've been helping us needs an upgrade. I like to talk to my clients and say it's a bit like your iPhone here, that you plug in and upgrade the software, because parts that have protected us in the past, those little parts, may no longer need to do that after we have done the emotional trauma processing necessary, after bridging and our resource therapy actions, which I'm coming to next. There are intellectual protectors. That's the part that's Michelle is having problems with. They are tricky. They are defenders, and they are parts that just stay way up here, usually blocking an emotional part. And just like IFS, we welcome all parts there internally. We're after a goal of health. Retro states are those states that help to avoid unwanted emotion of the Vaded states. A lot of parts therapy, like resource therapy, is an emotion processing therapy, and we bridge for resolution using the Vaded states protocol, resource therapy actions 3 to 7. I'm going to show you those in a minute. And we talk directly with parts. We do an imagery check to check on our work. And we also, this is a little bit unique, I think, to resource therapy, is we get the part that we are working with to name itself. And that helps us map what parts we're working with. I'm referring on the other side of this chart here to managers and proactive protectors. That'd be, in resource therapy terms, retro states. Firefighters or reactive protectors, they are also retro states. Those are parts that behave unwanted. Retro states are unwanted behavior parts. And do-over is what we would call our Vaded state protocols. We directly access parts, and we do protector check-ins after, which is a bit like the imagery check. I think there's also imagery check. How am I going there? I just want to check in with everyone. Is everyone okay there? So just pausing. I'm just going to go back. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. This. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay, I'll come back to you, Alistair. I'm seeing some wonderful stuff. For some reason, I wasn't going through. I'll just carry on here. I'll come back to you guys. So these, the 5 conditions of our parts, our resources: normal, Vaded, and you can connect Vaded with emotion, unwanted emotional. Retro is where we unwanted behaviors. Those are the parts of us that will act out behaviorally, i.e. smoking, gambling, addictions. They're those parts. Rage, pouting or withdrawal. Conflicted are normal states, but they're conflicted to a point of angst. You know, one part wants to rest, another part wants to think about what's happening tomorrow when you're lying down to go to sleep. Those are conflicted. So we work with different resource therapy actions, resource therapy action 9, changing chairs action, to deal with those. And then number 5 is our dissonant states. They're great parts, but it's the wrong part out to deal with the current situation, because it won't have the right skills and abilities. So for instance, if I'm going out there to give a speech to a group of 200 people, which is not as easy. I've done that. And you can, oh, I think I've stopped that. So resume share. So sorry, I think I'd pause the share. Here you go. My apologies. So I've just gone through these: normal, Vaded, and dissonant. So if I was talking to a group of people and I've got a part that feels really shy, and by the way, I do, it's not the right part to be going and feeling available in front of people. It just doesn't want to do that. But I do have a part that has the skills and knowledge to be able to go and present to people like I'm presenting to you. Or a good analogy, I've used it with people with soccer, who performance issues, writer's block. Those are dissonant type parts. Good parts, procrastination can often be involved in that. That's a dissonant part. So, and let's have a look. So Vaded states are Vaded in fear or rejection. Those are the 2 main Vadeds. There's a lot of those. Most of what we're dealing with, the not good enough, is Vaded in rejection. That's a great picture there. It's usually from messages and experiences we had as children, where our needs for to be known, heard, and understood were not met. We have Vaded in disappointment and Vaded in confusion. Vaded in disappointment are states that are connected with depression and can block energy. And they're disappointed. That usually happens in adulthood, from a job loss or relationship breakup. So I might have a part that just won't let me go out on Saturday night. I'm in front of the TV with the dog. The other one is Vaded here in confusion. I like that little Poochie, isn't he cute? And it's just where they're two normal parts. Well, this is Vaded in confusion. There's a really amazing protocol. We learn a lot of the stuff, obviously, in the clinical training, because there's a 10-day program that is resource therapy. I'm giving you a really crash course here. And that is perfect. The Vaded in confusion protocol is wonderful for grief, existential angst, and to also, I use it a lot in my infidelity with couples, is where they can speak to the other in the empty chair. We can speak to God. We can speak to a loved one who's no longer with us. Especially powerful for guilt and shame. They're just the most amazing sessions ever. Yeah, it's on day 4, I think, in the clinical. There's amazing. It's a very powerful process. And coming back, retro states are those states who sometimes were formed in childhood, sometimes in adulthood, to either avoid emotion or to take over the conscious with behaviors. Gambling, rage, smoking are all examples, or drinking, of those unwanted behaviors. Now, we establish unwanted behaviors in resource therapy because who's ever had a crusty neighbor, like, Frank down the road, who's just crusty and he's just a cranky old man. We might think he's that's sort of a retro part of him that's just really cranky, but he doesn't have a problem with it because he lives alone and he's fine. So it's the client defined. Okay, client defined unwanted behavior. Let me be clear on that. Same with Vaded states. That's why usually people come in. Here is our 15 treatment actions. Very much like EMDR, there's the resource therapy has just 15 treatment actions. It's clear protocols to tell you what steps to take. It's fantastic to have a roadmap so you know exactly what you're dealing with. If you've got a Vaded state, a confused state, it's a part, you can know exactly what treatment actions to take, really clear. But of course, there's an art to it as well, and you can apply your own therapeutic magic to that. So we diagnose the issue. What are you ready to change today? That's going to help us understand. Vivify specific is where we get the right part out. And bridging is where we go back in time, if need be, to do the expression removal relief, which is probably pretty similar to the internal family systems unburdening. Just don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. And yeah, so I'll just go through them quickly. Talked about Vivify specific diagnosis bridging. We bridge from the states Vaded with fear or rejection, only those 2 states, back to what we call the ISE, the initial sensitizing event. That is where we go back to that moment where that state, who was originally normal, who became Vaded, and we do the reprocessing in that. Now, when we bridge, we get clients to close their eyes. That will be a little bit different to a lot of EMDR clinicians, but a lot of clinicians now are using more like tapping stuff. That would be a time when you could use something like a butterfly tap. I'm not sure, I'll explain that a little bit later but you go and deal with the imagery involved and process it. And then we allow that, usually a little part, it's going to be a little part. For instance, so I was working with a lady and she was just wanting to contact her family, but her family are in America, and she said, part of her said, I hate them. Okay, I hate my mom, right? She's so narcissistic. That's an adult part, but oh, you hate them, and there's probably a good reason for that. I said, thank you, this part, what, a protective part, and I asked for, what can I call you, protector? And it sounds to me like there's another part there you're helping, a little part that's maybe not feeling so good. Yeah, because earlier, take good notes in your therapy sessions, wherever you're online, that you can be writing quite easily. And just, so she said, yeah, I don't feel loved. I feel not important. That is a state Vaded with rejection. So that tells me I will need to bridge and do expression. Anyway, we bridged back to, it was actually a state sort of vaded in a bit of fear and rejection. It called itself scared, and it was age 3. So we just feeling that in your body. We go to the body and then we bridge, feeling that in your body, feeling not good enough, feeling like being abandoned. Those are signs, being abandoned. About how are you feeling there right now? Because there were tears. We didn't really need to bridge too much. That state was really close to the being on deck, close to the surface. She was 3, she was scared, and she didn't want mum to leave her with her godmother who was touching her inappropriately. So we got that little state to be able to say something to mum, and I don't think we said too much to the perpetrator. I just told that person to go. She tells it to go. And because the secret of when we're dealing with the expression phase, the processing phase, the resource state, that part has all the power. This is the unmet need, the unvoiced expression that empowers this part back to the normal condition. It's so important. It's so powerful, this part. And to the interject. The interject is the internalized pressure of either mum and or the perpetrator. Now it's resource state specific. So that 3-year-old scared had an interject of mum at that time. And I actually said to mum, I said, mum, as the interject, I get you don't see that your little girl's really anxious. And it would kind of make sense because she's only 3, that you imagine it's separation anxiety. But actually this has happened. And she's not safe, this person. And I, did some information around that, because perpetrators are very good at hiding in plain sight. Yeah, I'm not blaming. We don't try and change the interject. We just get a handle on where they're at. Mum was really sad and sorry. And then that's when we do interject speak, and was able to apologize and said, I'm so sorry. It makes so much sense why you were so overwhelmed and not wanting to stay with her. Yeah. And then we go back to the vaded state, which in this case was called scared. Do you want the removal action, which is, do you want the mum to stay in the space or go, or whatever the perpetrator is, you can stay or go, easy. And then we find relief for that scared part. And I said, that's when we go back to the top of the personality. I might say, so Terry, I'll call her Terry. Terry, if you saw a little 3-year-old girl who was frightened and hurt and felt abandoned and not protected and not cared for, and that you loved and cared for, how would you want to help? And get a name for that part. Well, I want to comfort her. So we call that part comforter. And comforter, just go there right now on the inside and find little scared 3 and wrap her in your loving arms. Now, this is the part where I'll often get touch happening. I'll suggest it's so fine, especially online. So I might say, wrap your arms around her, and physically do that right now. And I'll use this time, my voice will go a bit slower, and just allow all that unconditional love, safety, support and approval to flow into every cell and fiber of being. Wow. Thank you, comforter. You're awesome. And the more you do, the more powerful you become. And I'll go back to scared, and say, scared, how is that feeling to you? And scared was feeling so amazingly great. And I said, oh, scared, thank you. And it doesn't sound like I can call you scared anymore. What can I call you now? She said, you can call me loved. So amazing. So it's nice to have a 3-year-old part there. We don't try and change the age or grow that part up. It's great to have a part that could, this part could experience joy of being 3 and play. And we left it deep down on the inside there with comforter, and then we find more mature parts to deal with mum and the situation. And we found a part called family, who wanted to have an interaction. And also I worked with that protector part who said, I hate mum. Protector part. So that's resource therapy action. That's find resource. Find resource is an amazing thing. 2 questions. How would you like to act on the inside and act on the outside and feel on the inside in this situation? And we vivify that. Changing chairs, interject action. Number 9 is for the vaded confusion and conflicted states. Negotiation is where there's changing chairs happening as well. Retro state negotiation is to work directly with those protector states. It's really super powerful. You can't do any work on, we're already seeing that on the call here. There's a lot of blockages from protector states. They're amazing. They're super powerful, but you have to get what we call resistance alliancing. Then when we've finished the work, we go back to the original starting point and do an imagery check with either the part that can, preferred part that can handle the situation that the Veda state might have came out at, and just see if there's any other work there. That's the way to check on your work. Resistance alliancing is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about protectors and intellectual or blocking states. Sometimes that can come in the form of blanking states or numbing states. It can be like that, possible dissociation. You can work with that part. And then for a powerful metaphor for letting go is a separation. So that's a really fun one. We learned on about day 8 or 9, I think, of the clinical. It's so much fun. And anchoring is, a lot of people have heard of that from NLP. That's when we found a resource, you can find an animal anchor or something that they associate with that to strengthen that association. Yeah. So that's, there's some differences between resource therapy and ego state. I put the slide up here for people to have a look at, especially if for people coming from Europe who may be more familiar with ego state therapy. So the key things are around the interjects and resource therapy and working with trauma. We just know we're not really working with the reality. We're just working with a memory fragment. We're working with an illusion from the past. We're not even really going back to the past. It's just an illusion that's showing up with the interject. And so they're in your therapy room. They're completely safe. Yeah, we can do what we need to here. The resource therapy has clear diagnostic criteria, which make it very easy to follow. I do like a structure. I found when I first learned ego state, it was really tricky to know what steps to take. With the resource therapy actions, 1 to 15, I know exactly what steps, when and where to take them. And obviously, a lot of ego state therapists will probably use hypnosis. Resource therapist, we don't need to use hypnosis. Great if you train in that. I think it's brilliant, but not necessary to practice resource therapy. So just an overview, the personality is made up of parts in resource therapy. Those parts have different skills and ability according to that resource that's on deck, holding the helm in the conscious. And our resource parts can be healthy, normal, unhealthy, inexistent, vaded, retro, conflicted, or dissonant conditions. And those unhealthy parts can be brought back to normality using those resource therapy actions. All our parts working in together. Fantastic. So that's the crash course on resource therapy. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to end the share and come back to you guys. I know there's lots of questions. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Renee, for letting me. So Alistair, thank you. Alistair's very experienced resource therapist. Yes, so you're saying that interestingly, they start to experience some of the physical felt responses when you see a part becomes accessed. You had one client who related an amorphous image, light and pressure. Yeah, you can work with whatever your client brings really, but accessed emotional states and underwent profound changes. Whatever your client shows up with, whatever you can work with. No direct access to any part. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I like resource therapy. You can play with it. It's very generous therapy. Okay, Michelle is saying, I tell them they're doing well and direct them back to the incident and repeat what they've said to that they seem to become frustrated and take it a while to feel that doing right. I lose confidence. Oh yeah, it's tricky. Some people have really strong protective parts. So, okay, thank you for it's not easy. And so I've got a couple of thoughts there on that. Michelle, that is, when we're talking about bridging, aren't we, Michelle? I'm just going to answer that question live. So I then lose confidence internally. I don't know if that got cut off. Yes. How do you hold your, okay. So, and I'll come back to Catherine's great questions too. So you're doing really well. Just going back to, you've got to hold on to the emotion, really capture that emotion. And sometimes parts can get out on deck and go below deck very quickly, sort of like switching. And I think the more complex or traumatized, the more likely you're to see more parts. Sometimes I'm just working with parts like that in a session, just naming, oh, analytical, hi, good to see you here again, of course. And those people are usually really easy to access. No bridging required, evaded states, just like literally there. So you're telling, I love that you're very supportive, Michelle. That's exactly right. You don't want to make the client wrong. They are doing their best. And repeat what they have said. Yeah, using their words, feeling hurt, vulnerable, nothing I do is ever good enough. Just I feel invisible. You don't see me, you don't hear me. You can hear there. That's what makes also resource therapy very attachment focused, because we do a reparative process after the bridging and the interject to the expression removal relief, and interject speaks very amazing healing there on the inside. In fact, one of my clients said to me, oh my God, I had put that part away. She'd been sadly molested when she was 5, and she said I'd never let it out, and it was like there was a gap in me, and now I feel that gap has been filled and I feel whole. God, I feel emotional saying that. And you can still have that emotional connection online, definitely. Of course, it's not the same as in person, but you are face to face. So a little heads up, I'd call it just as a variation, face to face. I am face to face. Yeah. So, yep. I hated client share work. Sorry. And so have I, okay. Oh, there's open questions. Okay. Sorry. So Michelle, I'll click done, but come back to me with more on that if you like. Catherine, beautiful. How do you hold your client's emotions during RT actions online? Yeah, get a name as quickly as you can. Literally, or can I call you scared? Literally, and circle that. Whenever I'm working with a client, I literally get a name as quickly as I can, because they can disappear really quickly. And then another part will jump in, and I'll just go, hey, I was just talking to Scared. I won't try and engage with that part just yet. So I'll just try and sidestep it and go, Scared, can I speak to you again? Scared, when you're there, can you tell me I'm here? Sometimes Scared, yeah, I'm here. Just allow, your eyes to close. Yeah, and in face-to-face counseling, you can read the shifting emotions and support your client according to regulate them. Yeah, you can. I'm okay. I'm just wondering what you're experiencing right now. It's okay. I think I'm seeing. I'm not sure. I'm a bit confused. You can help get some clarity, because I've got poor eyesight. I need my glasses there. And I think that's a good place where you can use SUDS. Has anyone heard of SUDS? Subjective units of distress on a scale. If I'm not sure, if I'm seeing some emotion, some people show emotion really flat, particularly men, but they are very emotional. So there can be flip sides of that, the shutdown, fight, flight, freeze, or the, really overwhelmed. So that's where I'd use that subunit units of distress, your SUD scale, on a scale to 1 to 10. How intense is this right now? See if you can make it higher. If it's not, 5 or more, yeah, you won't be able to do much if it's below 5. So that helps me. You can read the emotions. Yeah, the butterfly tapping. Thank you. Butterfly tapping can be like this. Beautiful. I like this here. It's because underneath your collarbones here runs the ventral vagus nerve, and that's a really important part that needs to be calmed if necessary. I do that post the expression removal relief as to tap that in, just to solidify the work if necessary. And I also teach it during the session as a self-soothing technique as well. I also do this one, just a little like a U shape. And tapping here, because I've trained in tapping as well, in emotional freedom techniques and radical exposure therapy and that sort of thing. So how would you attempt Right. And so also, would your temp changing chair action interject speak on screen? Yes, yes, I have done the changing chair. I have literally got them to sort of stand up. I'm going to see if my cord reaches, turn around, and then just sit back down and call out the parts as they're sitting down. My client was tucked up in bed. Oh yeah, that happened to me. I had a teenage client, an 18-year-old, and I'm like, you know, my bad. Just check your surroundings when you're there, because she was in bed. She wasn't tucked up in bed. I was like, hey, can we play with this? Let's do a little experiment. Let's just stand up, turn around, sit back down on the bed. That's what I did. Or yeah, or you could just close your eyes, and of course you just have them imagine the interject they need to speak to whoever that is in the chair in front of them. Yeah. And so did you get that, Catherine? Yeah. Oh, okay. So Alistair, can you say a bit more about that amorphous image? I work with the imagery. Shrinking it down is something we can do. It might be a metaphor. It could be an OPI, another personalized identity. It could be a creative form interject. Those are all concepts for the RT therapists. Okay, I'm just going down the list, looking at questions here. Alice is saying she had a client that hated chair work, baited with confusion. Any suggestions? Just get them to do it in the chair. Just work wherever your client's at. And she has nothing to say for the interject. So if she has nothing to say, I would be interested in hearing what her presenting sort of issue was. Is she stuck? Baited and confusion work is done for parts that are confused, that are ruminating. Could she not get over something, or was it baited and confusion, or was it more likely? Sometimes baited and rejection is more likely than baited and confusion. So sometimes I'll start with a baited and confusion session, and it actually is the baited state. The emotional part will come out. That's baited and fear or rejection, where we bridge and do expression removal relief. Yeah. And if she has nothing to say, what do you imagine she would say? Yeah. Well, that's where you've got to say, you know, just being the great actor you can be. I really set that up sometimes, like with that teenager, you know, your best friend, and that I did with, that was in the bed, just being your best friend. I can't remember, Jenny, and Jenny being the great actor because you really know her. Jenny, I'd like to speak to you now. When she sits down, Jenny, you heard your friend, she's really angry that you slept with her boyfriend. and she said, and you haven't told her, you should have, you know. And she said, yeah, I was really afraid that she'd hit me. Okay, that was a really honest answer of the interject. And what's happening there when the interject is answering in that secondary chair in that process, that client is accessing what we call in resource therapy terms the sensory experience memory. The sensory experience memory is that felt sense, and that's what baited states bring with them, that same level of affect and emotion that is the sensory experience memory. And once that's processed doing the baited work, that sensory experience memory becomes an intellectual memory. So we'll be able to talk about that issue, but without any emotion. Yeah, that happened, but you know, that part is processed doesn't come back up. It's not triggered. In confusion, what that person does with sensory experience memory is they take the that emotional understanding of what it was like for that. So my client's best friend, she was able to take that. Oh yeah, she was scared of me. Makes sense that she wouldn't. But I'm still angry, and fair enough, because that's never going to be a situation where someone would be happy with. But it made sense to why her friend didn't tell her immediately, and we did a little bit more work around that. It wasn't someone she was seeing, but she still had feelings for, so she was hurt. Of course, there's baited states under that. We know that, because what makes a person vulnerable to having unhealthy relationships, abusive relationships, is because of usually intergenerational trauma patterns. Resource therapy is super powerful at healing um, family patterns. One of my clients, the one with that was hurt when she was 5 as a little person. She said that my mother was abused sexually, her mother. This has been going on, and I said, wow, this is where you get to break the patterns of history. So amazing, so amazing. Marcel is saying observing body language is reduced online. Yeah, it is. Try and see if you can see from here to here. Mine's a little bit low, but what people's hands are doing as well. So sort of their torso. And I like, because getting them to be probably not more than a meter away from the camera is a good idea. Too far and you just, yeah. And I like it because of my short eyesight. I could actually see them a little bit easier. Yeah, so, and if you're not sure, I'm just sensing, have a guess. Yeah, and just check them. But if they've got their eyes closed, do not be asking intellectual questions so much. I imagine I'm seeing some sadness there. You know, just make it really easy for your client to answer. Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Okay, I love, I'm going to Alistair. It arises often from the physical sensation. Yay, I love physical sensations. Those are just perfect to bridge. Sometimes I've worked with a part that was like a hand. You know, the physical sensation was really like a clenched fist. We work with that, talk to that part. So, and Alistair has also said, I just get them to relate to it as a person apart. Yep, exactly. Perfect. Because thanks for that, Alistair. Really appreciate that. Engaging in conversation. What's the need? Fantastic. Exactly. What's the need? It's perfectly acceptable to ask. So scared, what is it you need here? Say if you've bridged back to something that you don't even know what the imagery is, and there may not be a lot, and I wouldn't expect there to be a lot for a 3-year-old. It's just a sense, and it might be a physical sense. Usually it's often dark. The first thing I do is bring in there lots of light. Sometimes I'll have an imaginary light switch you can turn on. You're just playing, and so get that need met. And you know, lots of air there, and do you want to be where you are? No, let's just have you where you want to be, and do the work, the expression, removal, relief. Yeah. And what's the establishing event? Yeah, the initial sensitizing event. You knock that out, the root cause, and then the symptoms of what's happening in the here and now are usually no longer going to happen, because you've dealt with the initial sensitizing, the root cause. It's amazing how much that helps. And I like going back to the earliest times. We never know in resource therapy. That's why the bridging goes wherever we need to go. We don't do a great deal of history taking, but I think online it's better to do a little bit more. And in fact, in your history taking, you'll often get a beta state. If you feel comfortable and it's within your skill set, bridge. There's no better time. A resource therapy friend of mine, Mel, she says, that's when I ninja them. That is when you just, poof. Okay, and that's when you can do some great work quickly, because sometimes in the second session the parent will go, oh, I didn't quite like that, because you know a lot happened, and you might have to do some processing work about that. I had a client, exactly, it was one session we did, and that was the woman America with the Vaded state who became loved. And she, in a week, I saw a week later, and she said, oh, family, she had a phone call to her mum. It went really well. She was really surprised. It was easy because we found a resource that could do it, that wasn't going to be engaged with mum stuff, could see that's who mum was, you know, an anxious, pretty narcissistic type person, but wouldn't take it personally. And then a few days later, she said she felt exposed and unstable. And I was talking to my RT supervisor on this, because like I was just kind of talking out loud. I said, oh, I didn't bridge then. And what she said is right. She said, I think it felt just intuitively like it was the second part of that session. So it was like 2 sessions. So I spoke to this part. It was called unstable. It just felt unstable. And it seemed like a sensitive part. And it was a little part. And unstable, I'm going to get what you need. Unstable. And we got loving there with unstable, I think, or comforter, and she felt so amazing. And then in the last session, wall, which is a creative form interject, which is a protective part, we got that to surround loving. And during the talk, I was talking with unstable, this other part popped in, and this is quite not unusual, and it just said, I don't think that's right. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll come back to you in a moment, and I know you've got some great questions, but I just want to finish the work with unstable here. But thank you. Remind me. So unstable, you know, with comforter, have that loving presence, and that's when I'll do the either butterfly hug here, or the tapping if needs be. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And clients will often do that automatically. So good. I'm a fan of sensory motor therapy, and I use that as a type of bridge too, which is to allow your client to take on that bodily shape or form. Very powerful to bridge. And about how old are you feeling there? Feeling, with the same words the client's brought in, feeling scared, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless in that body shape. 9, you know, really quick, easy bridge. Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, where was I going? And that part I went to speak back with after the work happened, called confused. And confused was, I thought maybe a bit of a conflicted state. I wasn't sure. So I said, okay, confused, you've got some questions. Let's have Love dance them. Loved how you're feeling. Confused said, I don't believe that's working. Love said, I am feeling so good. I am feeling whole. In fact, it's so amazing, so amazing. I've never felt this good. I'm getting all my needs met with loving here. Confused was like, oh, okay, I'm believing it. And that's that update. And Loves can thank confused, because now I'm thinking, actually, confused is more like a retro part that's really blocking, and has probably come up to intellectually ask a lot of questions to keep people at bay, and therapists. So I said, confused, thank you. You seem like a good intellectual part, and wanting to understand things. It's a protector part. Can I call you rational or something like that, or head or something? And he said, yes, you can call me rational. I said, okay, great. And you can ask all the questions you like there on the inside. That'll be fine. I just said, let's find a wise part that can decide when family, that's the part that can deal with mum, can come out, and what you will listen to you and help you answer your questions. Now, I had a part in my back pocket from last session called wisdom. Wisdom piped up when I asked for the wise part, and it was so funny because wisdom said, ha, she calls herself rational. She is not rational at all. In fact, she's scared and afraid, and that's why she asked all those questions. And I went, wow, hang on there, wisdom. I said, that's really interesting. And because wisdom had wanted to rename rational, I won't let another part rename. We let parts name themselves. I said, let's just check in. Rational, sorry. You heard wisdom, and rational said, yeah, I heard wisdom. She's right. I am. In fact, I don't think I want to be here in the day-to-day stuff. So I suggested perhaps she could go with love, because she was a part that really had been helping to avoid that emotion when it was triggered by just asking questions, being intellectual, defense mechanism. Would it be okay if rational joins you down there? Yeah. And Love said, fine. Rational felt really good. At the end of that session, the client said to me, it was so interesting. She said, I feel complete. I feel like now I can go out and date and be in intimate relationships, which was kind of her goal. And she said, because, and that part, loved, is always getting loving from comfort or loving. They're on the inside. No one can take that away. That's the true power of action 7 there, the find relief. The relief, the nurturing state, that internal loving part can be always there as the good enough loving part, totally accepting. And that's where the attachment healing happens in that moment and ongoingly. And said, yeah, no one can take that away, because people come, they go, they hurt you, they leave, they die. But this part is on the inside. It's not going anywhere. It's like all my parts have been like furniture moved around the room, and it feels really good. So amazing, so amazing. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm just going through. Alistair, beautiful. Choose an arty action, but have the analytical part be the observer. Yes, I like to invite those parts sort of as a co-therapist, because they really want to help. Come and sit beside me, and you can be my co-therapist, and let's hear about that. Perhaps you can write some more about that, relating the story and the experience. Thank you. Okay, done. Done. So Shane has written in, do you explain the process to clients first or just dive straight in? That depends, on your clinical judgment there, what the client is. I'll give like a paragraph about what resource therapy is, depending what level of functioning and supports your client's got in their world. But if evaded states, I might not stop to explain. I might say, hey, is it okay? I can see something's there. Can we work with this? I will. So I'm getting permission from my client, asking, can I work for that? And yeah, I'll go with the ebb and flow of the client, so they don't have an intellectual part that they're observing. Quite often they will have an intellectual part. Sometimes you'll get a sense of it. They may not say that until after the debrief. That's fine. I'll often say something like, oh, the more you can kind of feel this, the quicker we'll hear that, you know, and completely safe that you have all the power here. You're in Philippa's therapy room, Shane's therapy room. Yeah. That's fine. Just turning the light up on myself. How's that without shining? Ooh, crazy. And I don't often work at night in this room. So Shane, is that answering that? But people can often maintain a dual awareness because they're surface parts close to the helm. So they are parts. If it's interrupting, as in confused, jumped in, when I was dealing with the evaded state, just get them to step aside. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, I often have, especially when I'm doing practice and learning resource therapy, there's the therapist part. That can be a real problem, kind of going, oh, what you doing here? Yeah, it may be more necessary. It could be necessary to do a pre-talk with clients online, absolutely. Good idea. Have your little spiel. Totally. Like I said, at the end, I'll be showing you soon, because we're almost coming up, but Alistair is saying, I think there's an audiencing effect when you've got different parts witnessing. Empathize with the part and so connects the emotion. Exactly, because you're recreating neural pathways in there. I'll often get the mature part and the previously evaded state that's back in the normal condition, like loving. Thank you. Say thank you to Rational up there. That's so really cool. And let's have a look. Sorry, yep, all clear. Thanks, Shane. Done. And let's have a look. I found online, even though you can't see the body language, being closer to their face gives good information. Wendy's saying that you can miss in the room. I found that it's actually more intimate. You're, I believe, viewing your client in their space, they're feeling more comfortable. They're not having to, especially in a first session, they haven't had to figure out how to get what bus to get on, what valve to press. They have just been able to get up, make coffee, and turn their computer on. Yeah, so that lowers some anxiety, in fact. Thank you, Marcel. Beautiful. How are we going? Is open. Let me just see. How are we going? I'm just going through the questions. Any more answered? If you could say something about what would that, I say, if you could say something, what would that be about? Oh, hang on, thanks, Renee. Interestingly, they start to experience some of the physical responses when you see a part that becomes access. Yeah, you're drawing that, you're waking that part up. I've done it on the phone with, you don't have to see your client. I had a client, and I just want to speak to this hurt part, the part that's feeling really hurt. How old are you? 5. Boom. and man, that really helped this lady, and we found a loving part. We didn't even do any interject or speak or expression or anything. I just found it love. And she's complex trauma up the wazoo, and she said she just felt so unburdened, so relieved, and felt a lightness of being, which often a lot of clients report after doing that empowerment and reprocessing stage and resource therapy. So that's what you can use if you're an EMDR clinician. I am a fan of it. You can use the expression removal relief phase. So use that as a little tip. That's okay. Thank you, Shane, for saying that. Michelle's saying, I agree, and clients report feeling safer in their own environment, don't have to drive home after. Exactly. Sometimes for clients, I will suggest, how about having a walk around if they're here? They don't have to drive home or a cup of coffee. You can just say, have a rest. It's beautiful, isn't it? Thank you, Wendy, for that. You'll ask them that. I've said, Alistair is saying, I'm thinking it would be good to have clients use computer rather than tablet or phone. I think it's good to have your hands free if possible, because you can't hold the phone. I find clients wave their mobile devices around and it's hard to maintain the connection continuity. You really need a good Wi-Fi. Like I said, have a backup plan for the technology. If the technology fails, make sure everything's charged. I don't have battery operated stuff. I make sure everything's plugged in into the power. This is corded. Yeah, I'm just using the video camera on my Mac. It's very easy. Let's have a look. Woo. And so I'm just going to go to show you also on the website some written things, and where you can download a free, like a guide to send to your clients. So I'm just going to share my screen again, and didn't get to let's find that. Yep, share. And let's turn that Q&A. Let's have a look. Okay, I'll just have to move this bar around. This is a neat little thing. I don't know if you can see that, but that spotlight thing is really handy, and to get that. So first of all, I'm just going to, oops, let me take it away though when you don't need it. Two things. This is all the books that are available. Gordon has written, there's loads available. This is on resourcetherapy.com.au, Healthy Parts, Healthy Self. That's a good self-help book. The primer, the Resource Therapy Primer, is a great introduction to have. And it's a really good shortcut guide. And let's have a look, just turning the light up on me. And the case book with examples is really good for actual transcripts to have there. And Learn Resource Therapy is the manual you get when you do the clinical training. And we've got some clinical, a 2-day foundation introduction training coming up in May, and that's exciting. First ever online, yay. And that's very, very exciting. And here's some other books. I love Janina Fisher. She's always talking about parts. You need to have a parts therapy if you're dealing with trauma. Yeah, so and ego state therapy. There's loads of stuff there. So that's good. This is the Resource Therapy Institute Australia website. If you go here and click online there, this should come up, and this is online resource therapy, telehealth. I've written with great thanks to my friends from the EMDR Focus Institute, Mark Brain, Naomi Fisher, and Alexandra Dent. Some really good guides here. So they're practicing online. For therapists, how to set up the room, how to connect to Zoom. There's loads on YouTube. And there's some guidelines there. Now this is the part where I would like to show you that. And the guidelines here. This here is, click on that and you'll be able to download something that you'll be able to change and send your clients in advance. Obviously, that depends on your clients. Some people might be overwhelmed. You might want to just send a wee text. I would have a little shortcut. It's very easy to have a little shortcut done in keyboard shortcuts, where you might put therapy online or something. I put T online, and that comes up with your little spiel that you've put in as a shortcut. I use that for all my appointments. It's so easy. This goes as a bit of an overview into what's the client, how to set up for clients on your end, their end, guidelines, your first session. I'm going to add some more here. There's a lot on technical suggestions. Privacy, really need privacy. You can't do any processing work of people running in and out. And you're being surprised. I'll start with a person and I'll just ask actually at the beginning of the session, oh, are you there home alone? Or of course, if someone's in an abusive relationship, you might not want to be doing that at all. You just be checking in and keeping safety. And that person's still living with them. And going back to what I was saying, and my client was saying, oh yeah, my child's home from sick. I can't do anything because sooner or later that child is probably going to come in because they're bored watching TV. Just come in and see because it's more exciting. I often say hi. I just say hi. I'm Philippa. I'm working with, you know, mum or dad. Yeah, nice to meet you. Safety, apply your wise clinical judgment. Trust yourself. If it doesn't feel right, trust your intuitive parts. Refer on. It's totally fine. It's totally fine to say no to seeing someone if you're not comfortable. Remember, we are therapists and therapy is an essential service. So if you've got big enough rooms and all your health precautions in place, you can see clients live. You know, in person, live. Yes. For instance, I've got a couple and I'm seeing them in my lounge room, which is a little bit bigger than my office because that's the way they started. Most of couples are really adept. There's in that guide there is a difference to setting up couples because you've got two people in the room, so you need them very close. And I use Imago couple therapy, so they need to be able to turn their chairs and see each other. And you've got to have both of them in the frame. And I've noticed too, I have to often call, you know, Steve, can I get you to just say, and, you know, Stella, can you say, because they can't see me because they're focused in on each other. Have your own grounding techniques. I can already hear some amazing ones. We've discussed the butterfly tap. Oh, I'll show you the caterpillar hug. I don't know if you can share my screen. That's the caterpillar hug, which is really cool. Some people who don't want to do that. I had another client that said, oh, I really want the loving part was the loved part wanted a part to hold its hand, and she just did that naturally in session. It was so nice. I love that physical stuff as well. It just seems to add a further dimension of depth and processing to the work. The Vaded in Confusion, you can get them stand up. There's enlist a co-therapist. There's also video consent because it's very easy, great for your supervision sessions to be able to bring your video along and present it. Great. But of course, obviously get your clients and your permission, and then that document, it says please don't record without my consent. And there's actually a link I get everyone that does the training, who does the demonstration, because it's fantastic to be able to show people your work, and you learn a lot. You learn. So do your usual normal risk assessment. There's Zoom, some stuff, because there's now meeting passwords. Therapeutic, it's better to, I'm going to change that. Some of it's from EMDR. Allow stuff to happen. You know, I'll sometimes get my postman ring just to say, hey, not if I'm in the middle of something, but let people go on about their business, especially in Corona times. Yeah, my office is a door and I shut the room. I like it because being online, you can actually access more people around the world even, and help. They're not having, I have clients who've traveled hours interstate or flown to see me this way. I was just last week talking to someone in Brisbane who I'd seen a few years ago. By the way, I had a one session wonder with her. She said her life changed incredibly from that session where we just dove straight in. She was a very high functioning woman, an accountant, and we did some trauma reprocessing, resource therapy actions 3 to 7, boom. And she said, yeah, I've left that relationship. I'm a new one. I'm ready to do some other work now. There's some other stuff coming up. Yeah, amazing. You can have a lot of that in resource therapy. There's one session wonder. And remember, if it's a choice between no resource therapy and resource therapy online, then resource therapy online is always going to be the better option. And I'm giving credit there. So I'm just going to come back from that share. So stopping sharing and coming back to any questions here, any thoughts. We're just coming up to our time. I'm so happy to answer any more questions. Love to hear your thoughts and experience. I know there's some really wonderful experienced clinicians out there. Please write in. Hi Renee. Thanks, Renee. Yeah, so Shane has said a headset if possible. It is better to have the headset, and just a simple old phone jack headset is much better than the computer audio, because then it's not going to have the ambient noise. Thank you. Send the link for, oh great. Sorry, Alice, what's the link you'd like to for that? I'll send that. I'll put that in the comments section right now. I will go there right now. I'll put that in, Command C, and bring it back to that. Oops, see, I can't find it. By the way, it's a good idea to put it in your calendar, Zoom, and download all the extensions, because half the time I can't find things. That way it's there, I can click on it. It's very easy. Just putting it in there. Hopefully that's there. I'll type an answer in, type an answer in here. Oh no, sorry, cancel. Where are you? Alice, type your answer. I'll put that here as well. Send. I've put that up. I haven't seen it privately. Thank you, Marlene. Yes. Oh, thank you, Marlene. Thank you for letting me know you got it. Really appreciate that. Thank you all. Oh, good, Catherine. I'm glad you feel a lot more confident now. Keep well, keep up your good work. Fantastic. Thank you, Mandy. Very well. Thank you for your time. Oh, Kelly, thank you. I enjoyed the training. Fantastic. Happy to stay on if anyone's got any more questions. Or yeah. Oh, and beautiful. Matthias has said for German-speaking people, there's a German primer available here, and he's put in a link, and I'm going to put that, with your permission, Matthias, if that's okay, I'd love to put it on the Resource Therapy Australia website. And yeah, that's fantastic. Yes. Any other questions or anything you'd like to know? Oh, thank you, Michelle. Really appreciate you saying that. Happy Easter to everyone. What does the part, asking what does the part need is so powerful, Michelle is saying. That's always a go-to. With in doubt, what do you need? It'll answer. And exactly what Michelle's saying, maybe that's the first time it's ever been asked. I find, I'll screen share with you another thing I actually have, just to display how attachment focused resource therapy is, and to give you a heads up on the attachment stages that we're often dealing with those vaded states. Let me just find it. So screen share here, turn that down. Online screenshots here, do share. Let me find that's the one I'm talking about. Here we go. Let's have a look at it. Here we go. So let me move this out of the way. So here, this is from Imago Couple Therapy, but it's really applicable to resource therapy, that we have our attachment needs. Let me just find my little thing of our spotlight. So we have our life pulse here. Oops, and I'm drawing, and I don't want to be drawing. I just want to not draw. Hang on, spotlight, just spotlight. And our life pulse, which is to attach at about that 0 to 18 months, explore at 2 to 3 years, their identity, to feel known, unique, special, and at 4 to 7 years, competent. That mistakes are okay, and it's okay to be powerful. But what happens in our childhoods is those needs don't get met, they get wounded, and then we develop our vaded states, ways to cope. We'll become manipulative, vague, pursue, clinging. Let me close that. Adapt, or we'll go, and then we'll choose a partner who'll do the opposite, the mirror image of that. So if I didn't get my attachment needs for warmth and reliability, I might shut down, I'll feel annihilated, so I'll avoid closeness. Then I will, of course, choose someone who's anxious and will feel rejected and cling. This is the distance pursuer relationship. You can see in exploration, a lot of clients have been smothered, where they've felt over responsibility, especially with depressed parents. They're left alone. I have one of my clients, we always go back to the bathroom door, and mum, she can hear mum crying at the grief mum's experienced the loss of her twin. And she's, you know, so, and she's got her mum's grief. She tries to be perfect so that mum is feeling better because she feels she's responsible, as little people do, because that's where they're intellectually at, developmentally at. And of course, her grief and loss as a little person at 18 months is not acknowledged, or 3 years. Yeah. So you can do a lot of restorative reattachment, and it's so powerful. Identity is so perfect for letting go. These are often around your retros where the control comes in. There'll be anxious parts, not being seen, not being heard, not being known, not allowed to have, you know, a voice as a little girl or a little boy. Perfectionism is around the stage. So it's a good slide to have for your records, just to think about what the Vaded state, age and developmental stage is likely to be in. I think that can be helpful. Okay, I will leave that screen, I'll end that and stop share. Hi, and my goodness, we've had over 70 odd questions. That's so amazing. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. All good. You've got it. You got your answer. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks. Thank you, Shane. Really appreciate it. Thanks for feeling more confident to do bridging. Yeah, Wendy, I know you're a very experienced clinician. So yeah, you can do it. I have every confidence. And resource therapy is so fast because it works directly with the part we need to. That is very important in today and age where people are economically feeling a lot of angst. There's not a lot of money to go. So you can help so many more people using resource therapy so much more quickly. Thank you, Matthias. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me that option to put it online. Love to share our colleagues from Europe, and hopefully our colleagues from the States will be hearing us soon. Oh, thank you, Julie. Thanks for, you're feeling inspired. I hope to inspire you. I was talking a million miles an hour because there's no one here to talk back. Next one's going to be a Zoom meeting. Tell me, guys, if you would like another one of these, but I'll make it a Zoom meeting where we can be a lot more interactive, because I'm happy to do another one like this, just to keep the RT resource therapy community alive. And I'm hoping to introduce it to people who might have heard of other parts therapy or ego state therapists, because we do offer discounts for ego state therapists who want to update their parts therapy, because resource therapy is known as advanced ego state therapy, sorry. Yeah, so, and it has origins in that because Gordon spent a bit of time with John and Helen Watkins. They're amazing. And for EMDR clinicians, because if you use EMDR, that's how I came to study resource therapy, actually, and become a resource trainer, and all of what I'm doing, amazing, who would have thought, was through learning EMDR. You need to know, my supervisor, my trainer said, you need to know parts to handle dissociation, to handle all of our clients presenting issues, because parts just pop out. And I always feel so comfortable and easy to do this, and combining the two is very easy. So for EMDR clinicians, you can use the EMDR and expression removal leaf. You can do that with your eyes open, closed, whatever. Yeah. Thank you, Alice. I really appreciate you saying that. A great informative webinar. Found RT very powerful, and it works very well with other modalities such as EMDR. Love the magic. Yes, one of our trainees, because we've just trained our first ever advanced clinical trainer in the world that's non-Gordon trained. It's amazing. And she was the one that just came up with it. It's called magic therapy, and it really kind of is. And clients have said that. It's like, this is magic. How does it work? Well, we are reprocessing and recreating neural pathways as the neuroscience informs us. By the way, there's a bit on the Resource Therapy Institute Australia website, resourcetherapy.com.au, that I've done a page on the neuroscience behind it. So that's the evidence that supports what we're doing here in these trauma processing type modalities, EMDR, resource therapy, IFS, all that. Beautiful. Mandy, what if they suddenly dissociate? Good point. I love that. So you're going to hopefully notice that. It depends how they dissociate. So if they suddenly dissociate, I might sort of, hey, I noticed this is happening. Just what's happening? Is that another part there? Because I was just working with this other part. And that's when I might call out that person's name, like Helen. Helen, I just want to speak to Helen, that mature part of Helen that made the appointment, that is sitting down in that chair, can feel the ground underneath it, ground that client, can feel that. Open your eyes if their eyes are closed, and I might get them to tap on themselves or their knees, just, and tell me, you know, orient them ×3 sort of thing, you know, what, you know, where's that glass of water? Get them to have a glass of water. But I would actually be working with that part, depending where your skill level is and your comfortability with working with parts, because that's could be helpful. That could be a part that is needing some help. What do you need? How do you help? Could be a retroprotector part. It could be an exile evaded state. Does that help you a little bit, Mandy? Has that feel like that's answered your question? Yeah. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Thank you. I'm glad you found it informative. The screen is not showing. Oh dear. Oh, just your finder. Oh, okay. Oh, that was, can you send, oh, I will send that attachment around. Yep. But I will try and show that share screen again. Preview attachment. So can people see this? Let me know if you see this screen with the attachment stages of Imago. Don't worry, I'm going to make sure you get that because I can see it. I will definitely send it. Yeah, but yes, oh good, you can see it. So I'll definitely make sure you send it, so for everyone that's signed up. And Birgit, a Zoom meeting is the next option. This was an experiment. Would I do it again? Maybe, but definitely Zoom meeting is next. Zoom meeting, another Zoom meeting. And I'm going to probably do one for the people in the States as well, where I get up early. Yes, and contact me and myself, Chris. We're happy. We're going to have a group mentoring supervision session, which will be a Zoom meeting, which will be totally interactive. So sorry that we didn't get quite the interaction that I wanted. Yeah, we're all learning. Groups, thank you, Alice. Thank you, Mandy. Yes, Zoom meeting. Oh, great. Okay. Thank you, Olympia. Really appreciate it. Yep, the interactive Zoom meeting will be good. Alistair's off to feed the hungry parts now. Thank you, Alistair. Yep, okay, awesome. And I will send, yes, Michelle, I've got your email. I will do that. You're welcome. It's great because you can combine with resource therapy any of your modalities. It fits in so well. Just parts. If you're an art therapist, I'll often in the training do a bit of a walkthrough of our parts and then get people to draw them or write them however they creatively want to express. Some people love to be able to do that. It's fantastic. Thank you, Mandy. Oh, you're very kind. I'm really impressed. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yes, great. So if anyone has any questions before I wrap it up, I'm happy to share, and thank you all for your patience on my, I'm going to stop sharing that now, on all of this. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Oh, I've got like allowed to talk. Evelyn, hi, beautiful. Oh, for some reason I can now allow them to, people to talk. Jim, lovely to see you. Fantastic. Margaret, Marlene, Michelle, Philip, hi. I'm just looking down the list. Wow. 90 questions, 90. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Evie. Hope to see you again. Hi, Renee. Lovely to hear you. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Alice. Oh, and Nathan, lovely to see you. Daly, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Daly Martin. Thank you. And beautiful. Okay. And is there anything else? Alice is saying thank you. Inspiring as always. Thank you. Yeah, happy to have that support group and mentoring. It really, yeah, thing. So happy Easter, everyone. So thank you. And perhaps I'll do one in another week or fortnight. Tell me when you'd like. Just send me. You've got my email details that came through, hopefully. And you can find us on the web, www resourcetherapy, all one word.com.au. As I said, we're having the online training, first ever, but it's going to be a Zoom meeting, and there's going to be breakout rooms and practice rooms, and I'll be joining you. So don't worry, it's going to be really live, and we'll keep it pretty real. It depends if the government laws change. We might even be able to have someone with us. Chris will be here, Yvette will be here, so you'll have some amazing clinical resource therapists training with you, because Chris, my husband, he's a clinical psychologist. Yvette Allen is an amazing, experienced NLP clinical hypnotherapist. She has got loads of experience, and yeah, she's very, very good. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to say, oh, hang on, there's 5 new messages. Yes, thank you. Yes, please, Zoom, please, love EMDR and PARTS. Absolutely. EMDR and PARTS together are just a beautiful, beautiful, a match made in heaven. And so easy and simple to use. I think it's, and I mean, IFS is brilliant too. I don't know it that well, but resource therapy is what I'm really familiar with. So I find it kind of easy, but I use it and so well with the light bar. You can get someone processing if they're in the room, and if it kind of feels stuck, just you'll find that's a part. And in fact, it's helped probably me do some deeper work with resource therapy, having EMDR or tapping up your sleeve. Tapping's another one. Yes, that's a very powerful thing, tapping on the different parts. That's how I came to even train in EMDR. Oh, yes, Jim, you're at the end. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's all right. You made a complete hash of things. Jim is in the UK. I don't know, sort of Londonish time. Jim's saying welcome. That's okay. It's going to be recorded to the cloud. So everyone that's registered, that's why I got everyone to register. We should be able to, oh, now I've got people up there. How bizarre. I can now see some people up there. No one's sharing their video, but if you shared your video, Renee, if you shared your video, I'll be able to say hi. I was hoping, yeah, but yeah, it's recorded for posterity. So yeah, hopefully that has been interesting, and I'm really wanting to inspire you and exciting. Get a PARTS model in your belt. Hopefully it's resource therapy, of course. And we've got in a couple of weeks our training coming up. Feel free to drop me a line or ask me any questions. I really am all about wanting to assist people in these powerful modalities. I'll probably eventually maybe go on and become an EMDR consultant. I don't know. Yeah, because it's a really good thing. And who wants to join me when there's an EMDR conference talking on resource therapy? That would be great. Okay, so RET got me into radical exposure therapy. Is that right, Michelle? Was that into EMDR, and then PARTS through CFT and resource therapy? Can you, Michelle? So I just see Michelle, if I can let you, Michelle. It's Michelle. I've unmuted you, so hopefully if you unmute, I've got allowed to talk. Perhaps if you unmute yourself, you can say something about that. Gosh, I finally figured it out. No, but you've got, because I don't know what CFT is. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, me too. That was my path. That was my path. Radical exposure therapy, which is by Dr. Laurie McKinnon. I think it's well worth doing, and that was my beginning of my journey. In 2010 I did that. And compassion focus. Thank you. Oh, good. I don't know all these acronyms. CFT stands for compassion focused therapy, and that radical exposure therapy, which is not a great name, is combining the best of EMDR and tapping. I don't do much tapping anymore. My arm got tired. I just found the resource therapy does most things, but it's always an option. I just say learn everything. It was Robin Shapiro in a talk she gave in New York, which I heard on a webinar, saying just learn everything. You can take something away from everything, and you'll pick up something. Actually, from that talk, here's, I told you, little tidbit they'll share with you, which is really good. When you're dealing with that vaded state that's really responsible, or often ask them to go to their body where they feel that responsibility. Let their hands go. This is from Robin Shapiro. And let those hands just be a great big suction device, magical suction device, and hand that over in healed form to whoever that responsibility belongs to. Clients find that very beneficial. See, I promised you a special tip at the end that I really hadn't shared. I do in my trainings, but there you go. Brilliant. I'm glad I remembered to tell you that, because that is really helpful. People, you know, I've heard people say, oh, I felt the weight lift off me. It just can be for those clients that, you know, sensitive and got messages like that. Yep. Anything else before I say I love and leave you? Thank you very much, Matthias, and thanks to all who participated. Keep strong, you all. Online supervision would be great. Yep. Thank you. Oh, so Renee saying very reminiscent of your San Francisco trainings. Love to hear more about that, Renee. Beautiful. Thank you, Birgit. Happy Easter and hugs from Austria. Thank you. Easter eggs. I should have had some Easter eggs. Oh yeah, it's not quite the Easter bunny, but it's an Australian kangaroo. Where's her pouch? With a little Joey in her pouch. So from Joey and her mummy, we are going to say goodbye and all the new possibilities. Exactly. In this time, this is the time when your clients are going to need you to get out there. Hugs to all. Thanks, Matthias, especially from Heidelberg to Austria. There you go. That's a nice connection. Love to meet you there. So true. Each modality has great elements. Love and good night. Thank you. Nosebag time, says Mandy. So I am going to pause it here for now, unless there's any other questions. But thank you. Thank you, Jim. You take care. Good work too. And bye from Aussie. Oh, look at that. And I will have another one in a week or two, hey, because this has been fun. And it's going to be a Zoom meeting. So we can play around with the technology, learn it as we go, all of us. Fantastic. So I'm going to end the meeting now. Thank you all. Goodbye.